All right, here I am. It's another day, another video. Today's topic is about Apple giving the $2.5 billion for the development for their homes and stuff like that in California, I think, or yeah, it's in California. And I seen that Facebook did a one billion and Google also did $1 billion. So now they're looking at $4.5 billion for subsidizing homes for people in California. I was looking over it, and I guess it's not like it's a bad thing. I mean, you know, putting more homes out there and stuff like that, that's great. But how much are these homes going to cost overall? I'm not talking about like how much will it cost to build the apartments and all those homes and stuff like that. I mean, how much is the monthly rate going to be? What is the affordable housing like in California? Because where does I was gonna say at first I was gonna say where does Facebook and Google and Apple gonna get their money back? Because the fact is that, I mean, nobody spends money without getting something in return. But they're probably gonna write it off as a donation or something like that to take it off of their profits for the year or whatever. I don't know, investment, something like that. But I'm pretty sure they'll still have a grab on it to where they can get some of the monthly fees that they collect throughout the month. But I was wondering, how much is the affordable housing out there in California? And then when they said that they're doing the subsidized homes and building more homes out there, more affordable homes, is that going to be more affordable homes for people who are on like government aid, where they're paying for their living and stuff like that? And if it is, I mean, hell, the government probably could have done that. They could have went down there and built some homes on there and regulated themselves, I guess. Because, I mean, if they're going to give you a $1 billion tax break, I mean, the government can go ahead and do it. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how the profits are going to work on it. I don't know who's going to get the cut. Like, so say for instance, if the rent is like $1,000 a month, and who's all getting a piece of it, right? Is that money going back to the government for giving there's a certain amount of the money going back to the government for giving these companies a bailout, or letting them donate it without having to pay taxes on or something? I don't know. Just ranting off some stuff. If so, like, how is it gonna work? Like, who's gonna get the monthly rent? That's what I want to know. Yeah, who's gonna get the monthly rent on those places? And then if they're building all these houses, I mean all these apartments, why aren't more private companies going to California and building these apartments as well? Shoot, apartment complexes are popping up here in Houston all the time. Like, randomly places an apartment will pop up. I mean, the rate of apartments are getting kind of high now, because I think a 3-bedroom apartment at a somewhat okay cost is, you're looking at like $1,400 a month. If you want better apartments, I mean, you can be looking at almost $2,500 a month. If you're really on the low end, like some people, or like me or something like that, you might be looking at, you know, $1,000 or something like that a month. I remember when I was first getting into renting and stuff like that, because I had my kid and my wife, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment for $500 a month, right? By the time I left that apartment, I believe it was almost $650, almost $700, because it would go up every year. So every year they would go up a little bit on the price. And then but as it was going up, I was going up as well in pay. So every time that it would get close to a certain amount, I would find an apartment that was better or in a better area, or and it would be like a couple of dollars difference, and I would just move there and then just keep upgrading that way. Right now, I want to go and get a house eventually because I got really bad credit, so I'm working on my credit. But I want to get a house, and then because I want to get out of renting. But like, I was just wondering who would get the money, because you think about it, like some of them apartment complexes, they can hold like maybe 100, 200 houses inside of the apartment complex. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember how many was in the last one. But you think about 200 houses, and they're paying the rent up there. I was just wondering who was going to get that money. And then, like, if the people can afford the apartments there, why weren't they just buying a place before? I mean, because whatever's out there, I'm pretty sure they have housing out there for them as well. Right, because like in Texas, I know that you can say if you make a certain amount of money, you can get a certain type of apartment, right? So say if you're living in this one apartment, I might say, well, you can't make more than $40,000 a year, right? If you make more than $40,000 a year, you can't live there. Or if you make less than a certain amount, you can't live there either, because they still want to make their money off of you. But it was just something that was on my mind. It was something I had read the other day, because they're going to look like the good guys for putting all this money up for the housing and stuff like that. But no one's explaining the whole thing, right? Because they said that, I think I read that it said that there's like 3.1 million people in need for housing out there in California. That's quite a bit of people, and $4.5 billion isn't going to be enough to create enough housing for that many people. But I don't know, it's just weird, because I would think that if there's nowhere to live and you're not making enough to live in the places that they do have, then why don't you leave? Right? If you were making some kind of money and you don't have enough for an apartment out there where you're at, then why don't you save up some money and just go somewhere else, right? Because everywhere you go, there's the same kind of work everywhere you go, damn near. But then again, everybody wants to be around the rich people, because they feel like they can get a piece of the pie eventually. As far as like maybe running across somebody who's got money, and then, I don't know, living with them or something, like finding a way to get like a one-up. Like all I'm waiting to meet a music producer. I'm waiting to meet a director or something. They'll put me in their movie or something. They're probably like, I'm waiting for that moment. But if you can't sustain yourself, what's the point of waiting for that role? What's the point? I get it. Everybody wants to get rich quick, right? And if they think that being homeless for a year or two or whatever while they're waiting to get their chance, they might say, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. But that's crazy to me. I couldn't imagine not having a roof over my head, right? Because when I moved out of my mom's house at 13, I didn't not have a house. I didn't have somewhere to stay. When I was about that age, I moved in with a buddy of mine that was like 25, right? It was like one of those family friend people, and I went and stayed with him at his place, and I would pay him rent to stay there for my room, right? And his girl would cook us food, and we would chill and smoke weed, and every now and then get into some trouble and stuff like that. But I would stay there. And then whenever I got with my wife and stuff like that, I had my place. I shared a place when I first started with my wife because I didn't have the money to just really just have it all by myself. But I want to say right around the time my son was born, like in 06. That's about the time that I had it all to myself, or to my family and stuff like that. So it was just the four of us, and then it went to the six of us. But after that, I've always had my own. So it's weird to me to see someone okay with just sleeping in their car or whatever, or being homeless and sleeping in tents and stuff like that. Because I want to be able to go home and take a shower and relax, watch some TV. So it's so weird to me to see that going on. But maybe that's just how they think out there in California. Maybe that's common for them to just want to be so known that they're willing to be homeless to be known. I don't know what the jobs look like out there in California, because I'm here in Texas. I don't do California. But I heard that they got the 13% tax for their state, plus an additional tax on their income. They had to pay taxes on their fuel and all kinds of stuff. So they've made it so impossible to live out there. I would just jump ship. I would just jump ship. You know what? Let Apple and Facebook and Google invest somewhere in the Midwest or somewhere else where there's less development or something, and hell, create new jobs there for that kind of money. Because I'm willing to bet the amount of money that these companies are going to have to pay to build those apartment places. I can only imagine with the taxes that they're going to have to pay for those places too. And in California, they're probably going to be like, oh, we only want the best kind of stuff and everything. So where they would have got these really cheap apartments that were maybe $600 a month rents because they were made so cheaply and they can make so many of them, they would go with the $1,500 a month rents and make them bigger and more spacious. If you got that many people homeless in California, then obviously you don't need, if you're going to make these subsidized homes, you shouldn't make them really big. They should be relatively small, if anything. If they want a bigger place, they should upgrade, make some more money, do something else. But I really don't know a lot about California and what they do there. All I know is that whatever they're doing there, it trickles down to the rest of the states, right? And I'm hoping that Texas is standing there with their eyes covered and their ears covered, and not listening to any of the crap that's coming out of there, and not looking at what they're doing and thinking that's okay, because a lot of that shit we don't want here. We just went and voted. I just went and voted the other day, and one of the things that was on the proposal, on the amendments or whatever, was the possibility of taxing the income here in Texas. And hell no, don't tax my damn income. Okay, I'm okay with paying the sales tax here in Texas, because the sales tax is only 6%, and then if you live in the cities, they can charge up to an additional 2%. I think it's like 6.9 or something like that, but still around 6%, right? So certain cities would charge you less in tax because, say for instance, they're trying to get companies to come move in there, so they want to make sure that they keep the spending kind of low. But big places like Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and stuff like that, they're going to charge you the additional 2%. They're not going to cut corners on that. They're going to want that every bit. So they're doing that. Where they were trying to do that. I voted against that because no, we don't want that shit here, because I'd rather pay on the dollars I spend and not the dollars I earn, right? Because if I'm only focusing on that aspect, because I've seen a couple people say, oh man, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. At least you don't have to worry about paying taxes every time you go buy something. Oh, that's stupid. No, fuck that. No, because if I make $1,000, right, and I spend $300, I only have to pay taxes on $300 that I spent. I'm not gonna pay the tax on the entire $1,000. I'm gonna pay the taxes on the $300 that I spent. And see, the federal government already got their cut. See, the government got their cut, 401k got their cut, healthcare got their cut. So everybody got their cut, and all I'm left is $1,000. Why would I allow you to tax that whole $1,000? Now, if I go spend the whole $1,000, fuck it, I paid the taxes on the $1,000 I went and spent. But paying for it right off the jump, no. I mean, I love Texas, and I want Texas to succeed, but taking all my money ain't gonna help any. Right? Taking every dollar I make ain't gonna help me none. You might say, oh well, we can start some of these socialist programs, and then you won't be worried about all these dollars we're taking. Nope, because they ain't gonna work. Your plans aren't gonna work just as much as my plans may or may not work. But at least I got a fighting chance when I'm in charge of my own money. See, because if I give you full control of my money, then you have full control over me. You get to determine where and how my money is spent. No. If I want to buy something crazy or random or whatever the case may be, just because of the hell of it, at least I have that option. But so they were proposing that, and then like the other thing what was that other thing? They were trying to, they wanted to raise property tax in Houston. Stop this, man. I get it. Texas' biggest tax revenue is from property tax. Okay, that's our biggest revenue here in Texas as far as when it comes to taxes. So I can see Houston and stuff like that wanting to get a little bit more money. But stop that, man. Man, some of these people are paying a couple $1,000s a year in taxes for buying something. Right? And say I bought this. Say I buy this house for $200,000. I pay the taxes on the $200,000 I spent to get the property. Then you want me to give you $4,000 or $5,000 a year in property tax? That's just like my registration. I'm paying I pay $100 a year just for owning a car. Right? I sit there and I will pay $75 for the registration, and that's all the taxes and fees and all this other stuff. And then I pay $35 for the inspection, because I have to get the inspection, take it down to the courthouse, and then pay the additional $75. Or yeah, it's like 75. So it's like $119 or something like that. But that means that I'm being penalized for owning a car. In the same way that property tax is penalizing you for owning a house. And really, the reason why they're doing that is because they want you to rent. They like it that you're renting. Right? Because that means that you will always have to work. You will have to work for a lifetime. Because if you ever stop working and you can never stop and you can't pay your rent, you're out of your home. And there you are, homeless. But this taxation of us is getting out of control. But I got a little bit off topic because I was really talking about the whole Apple and Google and all them, because they think they're doing a great job, and I'm pretty sure it'll help somebody. But they're gonna have to figure out a better method, because like I said, the amount of taxes and different things, the amount of money that it costs to build anything in California, and the time that it takes to build it, it may be another 10 years before they actually put it down on the ground. But I think Apple said that they will go ahead and do it on some of the properties that they already own, for their employees or something like that, which I don't really have a problem with that either. So say for instance, I work at a company, and they were like, hey, we have X amount of houses, apartment complexes for the people who work here, right? and it would be a certain percentage below market value, right? But if it was like 50% below market value, okay. So if you're supposed to pay $1,000, you're paying $500. Okay, so say you're paying the $500, you're 50% below market value, and that's what it'll be as long as you're working for the company. Then whenever if you ever get laid off or let go from that company, right, the company could then give you like you know how they do the Cobra thing where whenever you get let go from a company where you can keep your insurance for a certain amount of time. I think you should be able to keep your apartment for a certain amount of time, but then you would have to leave. But whenever they do that, then the company not only has the revenue from the sales of its goods and stuff like that, but then it also has a revenue from the people staying in the apartment complex that they're staying in. That's for the company, which I don't see a problem with that. I think that's actually pretty cool. That's for those who rent, right? I sometimes I think that they should put a regulation on the on rent itself, but I know you can't really regulate the a private thing because if you own an apartment complex, you own that privately, and for the government to step in and tell you what you can and cannot charge for rent, that's ludicrous, you know, because I wouldn't want that to happen if I had an apartment complex. I wouldn't want the government coming in and telling me what I can rent my places for, but they do stay in the range of the market, right? However much people can afford in this city, they stay in that range, because if they're too high, then they won't get the people that they need, and if they're too low, you get the wrong kind of people there, and you don't make enough money. So, because you still have to pay taxes and all kinds of different things for even if you have apartments and stuff like that. But sometimes I do want to see them regulated, right? And if they're really trying to help some people out, and they do want people renting, and they want everybody renting and that kind of stuff, then at least make these places more affordable for all pay groups. And I don't mean just changing the thing where like, oh, if you make $3,000 a month, then you have to pay $1,000, but if you make $2,000 a month, you have to pay $600. No, it should be the same rate for everybody regardless, right? That person wants to stay in your apartments, paying that kind of money, living around certain types of people, that's his business. But I was just thinking of different ways to kind of stretch that ideal out there. But I wouldn't build anything in California. I wouldn't build anything out there in California because it would just be too damn expensive to do anything, and it'll get caught up in politics and stuff like that. They may not ever build that stuff, right? You see, people will support those companies even more when they see them saying, "I'm going to give $1 billion to whatever this cause or that cause," and what will happen is that people will come and spend more money with them. Because, you know, now your brand is even further out there, is doing these good deeds and everything. But I don't know. I don't know where I stand as far as what they're going to do out there. Because, like I say, if they're going to make these affordable housings, what is technically affordable in California? Right? They have one of the highest wages in the United States. They make the most amount of money, but they're the most homeless. That don't make no sense. How y'all have all this money coming through California and y'all can't even get y'all stuff together? But I don't know. Maybe because they're so careless with their money, right? Maybe that's what it is. You see, it's easier to spend somebody else's money than it is to spend your own. So when you're spending someone else's money, you tend to be a little more careless with it, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and end this video here. I was all over the place, I know. I'm sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to get more content out there, right? like I said, I try to do politics on certain days, health on certain days, random stories on certain days, life stories on certain days, because I want all kinds of people here. If you like it, share it. If you like it, hit the like. If you want to leave a comment on something to talk about, leave a comment, because then I'll go check it out. I can find out more information about it. I could probably write up a story about it or whatever. But let me know what y'all want. I am kind of free falling as far as like I just putting out all kinds of stuff, but I would like it to be a little more concentrated, and where I'm not all over the place, because I want y'all to watch. I know obviously the quality of the videos aren't all y'all's what y'all are into. Y'all probably more into like live videos, or even into where there's like a bunch of stuff going on in the background, like videos and stuff like that, where I can pop up videos about certain things that I'm talking about, or stories that I'm talking about. But I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. But all I ask is that you come and join me, and let us make this thing grow. But if you're not leaving a comment, I don't know what you want to talk about or what you want to hear, because my goal is to keep you here. Whoever you are, I want to keep you here on my channel. I want you coming back to see what I'm talking about. I want you to keep coming back and sharing my content with your friends and with other people. I want you to keep coming back and going, you know what? I can listen to this guy and he's going to listen to me. Right? But a lot of people aren't making it to the end of the videos, according to my whatever that thing where we check all the stats and stuff like that. But and I'm trying to get my channel kind of more diverse as well. Most of my viewers are men. I like to try to get some ladies in here. I want to say all ages, because I don't really like. I don't care who watches my stuff. I don't do anything like super bad on my channel or nothing. But then, like I said, if you run across one of my videos, check out one of the other ones. They might interest you. I try to put an image for the front, so you can kind of see what's in it, and give you the hashtag and everything. But come check it out, and let's go from there. All right, y'all have a good day.